Hey, how's it going? I'm going to read you some cards. So, I'm having a particularly painful shoulder issue today, so I'm not going to be picking up my phone and moving it closer so you can see the sign better, but you can expand on your phone, expand. So, yeah, opinion commentary. Please keep that in mind. And there will likely be notes in the info/description box under the video with more stuff that I probably will think of after the fact, because that always happens. So there. Now you know that something's wrong with my angle here. Okay, that's better. So, I pulled cards, well, it's yesterday now, and then put them aside and did whatever, but I fell asleep, and so, I wasn't quite ready to deal with it when I woke up, or deal with them, rather, and so I didn't, and then some time went by, but that usually consists of me, picking up my phone and looking at stuff that's on there. And interestingly, a bunch of like UFO stuff came up. And I'm glad that it did, because I'm ready to talk about something other than what I have been talking about. I haven't taken my eye off of the subject though, because I feel like there's like something more to come to it that will sort of tie other things that why am I taking out the whole deck? It'll tie other things that I'm sort of aware of at the moment together that well, anyway, I'm just waiting for that. So I pulled 3 cards today, and the first one I pulled is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, which the flap is so hard to get shut again. Why did I take those cards out? Okay, there it goes. Thank you. Get under there. And it is the Eye of the Needle card, number 17. Okay, fine, just fall over. I had them set up all nice. You can't see it, but it made me feel tidy. And now they fell over. But anyway, so yes, the Eye of the Needle card, and intentionality is the subtitle. So this card has an obvious, like, 2x4 over the head reference that you could make, the biblical one that has to do with I don't know what to quote it exactly, but it's something about it will be harder for a rich person to enter the kingdom of heaven than fit through the eye of a needle. I think I've like just jumbled it, but that's the gist. I have had various thoughts on that, like, oh, like you can't take it with you kind of thing. Like, it's not about your stuff, it's about you. So that's what can get through the needle, and your like obsession and attachment to the wealth and the power and all of the trappings is like what is going to prevent you from getting through the eye of needle. Eye of needle. Eye of the needle into heaven. So, but that is not actually what I'm thinking about, and the car is just working with me today. What it does make me think about is well, UFO stuff, actually, and kind of how hard it is for us to either accept and swallow. Like, we just can't get that through the needles of our third eye conceptuality. Like, we just can't let it into our brain. Like, it's just too hard for our imaginations to process or something. And I shouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of programming, like literal programming that you can watch or listen to that will tell you UFOs or now the government calls them UAPs, so like we're all supposed to, but I ain't gonna, because it's essentially this, they just like picked up a thesaurus to say the same words. So anyway, the UFOs, and it comes from like our government a lot, that it's weird. It's like if you see it and experience it, they really don't want you to talk about it. And then you have like the whole Men in Black thing, which people may know about like on a wider scale, because a lot of people don't just follow UFO stuff enough to know about people's personal experiences with what they say were the so-called Men in Black, and how just kind of bizarre the people that showed up to deal with them were, and how they had like lost time. As with often their UFO sighting experience, there's lost time, and then these sort of, this is the description, ominous, vaguely menacing, like agents in dark suits. And so for a long time it was like these 50s suits and fedoras, and then like the Men in Black movie came out, and that, they showed the side where the Men in Black are like acquainted with all these alien or extraterrestrial or extra dimensional entities, and they have like this big place where they meet up, and it's an office building situation kind of, or like a space UN or something. I'm not really sure, but the Men in Black have the "please look at my pen," and then they click the little doohickey at the top and it flashes, and the people are like, what? Nothing just happened for like the prior 15 minutes. I have no memory of it. Who are you? Goodbye. Like, lost time, erased memory. So that's kind of interesting. But in reality, though, and I'm not sure if that movie was meant to inform you, probably somewhat, or to like soften the blow of the existence of the people that are the Men in Black. I'm just not sure. And I'm sure it was just inspiration of whoever like came up with the story, like, oh, well, I know about this organization or agency or whatever, and I think this aspect of it is kind of funny if you think about it. But I just wonder, I'll have to look at the credits and see what kind of government consultancy went on there, because with military and police stuff, there's consultants, and they're there to say like what you can and cannot say about said agencies. So yeah, we'll see if I remember to do that. But one of the things I was just, in fact, I'm not even finished watching it, was an interview with that guy that was part of AATIP, the supposed government agency that was Louis Elizondo. So he was supposed to be this former, fairly high-ranking officer. I think he was a pilot, maybe. And he was retired, and then he joined this agency, and I think it was supposed to be I'm not sure what it was supposed to be, like some sort of agency that was like in between the public and UFO stuff. And he wasn't there very long, and because it was a government thing, he can't really just say what his reasons were for leaving or what went on there exactly or precisely, and everything's got to be a big old secret. And so, but one thing that he said that is not really unknown is that there was competition inside the agency, and I know that there's interagency competition in those sort of echelons and those departments of what they now call phenomena, which is a lot more of an admission than the Blue Book days, where even as they were describing the stuff in these reports and hearings, I guess it was just obviously not man-made and obviously just like not from around here, unusual, phenomena, like stuff happening that you just don't really have the capacity to explain. And it does stuff that perhaps we don't have the capacity to do or didn't then, like maybe we don't have it yet even still, or whatever, but just something like not under their own control. So then of course they try to control the knowledge of it. But it seemed like even no matter what they experienced, no matter how unlikely or how much it was like, oh my God, that has to be a UFO, that has to be an alien, they would just be like, nope, it is not that, and the sun, the sky is green, night is white. We'll just tell you stuff, and you're just supposed to be like, okay, and that's very like, that's a dark state kind of to live in, or like you're just supposed to ignore what's right in front of your face, that you literally just went through it, and they show up, the men in black, in those instances, according to all of the descriptions that I've read, pretty quickly after, like almost like they knew of it in advance. Like, how'd you get there so fast? Just briefly, there's like a ability to recognize certain frequencies, so I guess that they can pinpoint that, like much more advanced than the kind of tracking that you can see on that TV show FBI or something, where they're like the cameras and they can track cell phones and whatever, like more advanced than that. Like the transportation must be more advanced than that. So yeah, that movie, what was it trying to tell you, or what was it not trying to tell you? Ow. And so they make it hard for it to get the information. The government makes it hard for the information to get through the eye of the needle. But look at what's behind it. It is like a planet. It is glowing, almost as if it has propulsion behind it, as if it is a UFO. And between the eye, which looks like is in the needle, it doesn't, to me, look like it's part of the the planet. Like the literal eye inside the eye of the needle. Ooh, okay, I can't put my arm up there. I'm not left-handed. So within the eye of the needle, oh, for God's sake, this is gonna hurt. In there is an eye, like one of these, and so it doesn't really look like it's in. It doesn't look like it's this planet, the propelled planet business. And then there's also some like sacred geometry type stuff floating next to it. And it kind of looks like that's something going on like inside the needle itself, and maybe the part of the propulsion of that object is the sacred geometry stuff. And in a way that makes a certain kind of sense to me, because I just learned recently that from government information, by the way, that they recently released about the propulsion, the anti-gravity propulsion system, and then I've also heard this from channels. The means of it we don't quite have, because there's an element, like a literal like on the periodic table type element, that it's just not present here on Earth. But apparently we've gotten some quantities of it a little bit, because we've been able to construct, I guess, back engineered or passed on, like hand-me-down spaceship stuff or crashed stuff. So I guess they acquired some. I don't know like what quantity is involved for what size craft or anything like that, because they won't let us know stuff like that for the time being. But they said that because of however the science is, whatever the mechanics are there, the propulsion is able to, and they used the term fold space, like from Dune, for Christ's sake. So there's fiction and reality all curling up into each other. It folds space. It made me think of like peristalsis or a slug or something, the way that it moved. But it sounded like it actually moved the space, like it digested it, and that was the source of propulsion. I'm getting goosebumps, so I must be close. That is so odd. So and the needle has little, oh my gosh, this is so funny. So the needle has little arms with they're holding little needles, if you could see that, which is very strange, because here's something that I've been thinking about too, not completely, separate from the UFO subject or the ET thing, but I just wrote a quick note down. God is asking its remote bits of its own self, us, made to experience itself, experiencing stuff. Angels it created, frantically worshiping itself. I don't know what to think about that. Well, I mean, the idea of worshiping yourself and creating things to worship yourself out of yourself, and everything that is something that you've created out of yourself, in human terms, man, what an ego. And I know that goes against like everything a Christian would like. You would think, I am thinking, why am I not getting struck down by lightning? But it just crossed my mind. So, anyway, the aliens, the ETs, not separate, not came from somewhere else, also made by the one source, Spirit, and God. I don't know why, but that just cracks me up. So, but that's what I think of with the needle, with the little needle selves. And like, it looks like they're, even though they're not using the pointy ends, they're holding them a little bit like lances, a little bit like weapons. And then I think it like of a barb, because of the way the direction they're holding the needles. But in this case, I feel like it's a barb to catch all of the stuff that you're not meant to try to stuff through the needle with you on your way through. Okay, so I pulled another card from the actually, I'm going to use this from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, and it's the Unicorn card. And you can see the iridescent circle there at the top doesn't indicate an element in particular, like the not of the type like earth, wind, air, and water. It's the element of spirit is what that is supposed to represent. And while I'm on the subject of improbable stuff, I got the unicorn, and that is the book talks about it being like the sort of intangible element of spirit that it's more than like just having faith in it being there. Like you feel things and know things or learn things in a way that makes it indisputable that there's this other element that's not earth, wind, air, and dirt. You know, it's like the creator of that element. And you know, I could come up with a lot of metaphors for why you wouldn't be able to see it. You know, like you can't see the curvature of the earth because you're not tall enough, basically. That kind of thing. But for this, I feel like it's with the ET thing that we have such a hard time believing that such a thing can exist. And then, like I said, we've been conditioned not to. But at the same time, it's like cross forces coming from the same element working against themselves. And then that, again, trips my mind into that whole, wait, that's still God doing stuff to its own self. For what? Don't get in the loop. Don't get caught in the loop. So, real quick, I hope, because I don't want to be doing this too long. I'm going to read from the book. I'm going to look at the book and see if I need to read from it. And I'll share with you my thoughts on that. If I can find the dang unicorn page. Oh, wait, is it the last one? Nope. Come on. There it is. So, reconnecting to higher wisdom or divinity. Itself, getting in touch with itself. I'm sorry, I can't stop thinking about it. Well, I'm not sorry. You know what I mean. See, women are conditioned to say that. Let me get into another rabbit hole loop. No! It's difficult to see, hear, or think of a unicorn without immediately questioning if it's real. UFOs, ETs, extra-dimensionals, same Z's. Did they ever exist? Do they exist? Perhaps long ago? The mind answers maybe, or it could be, or no way. So true. This very contemplation explains our relationship with divinity and encapsulates our wavering belief in the unicorn. So that's interesting. Encapsulates our wavering belief in the unicorn. See, I read that as faith because we do question it, like, especially if you're aware of it. I'm finding, I mean, I've been educated about this, but I didn't understand what I was hearing, or I couldn't conceptualize it in a useful way because I was so young. But now that I've had time to expand and ponder these things, yeah, I can see that as a metaphor for faith, because you, in that religious sense, you do have to really, like, just believe in, you know, like, well, A, whatever's going to happen is meant to happen, so just shut up and go with it. And B, believe that no matter what it looks like, it's the best thing. And we were given free will, and just like it does in, like, our real life here in the good old USA, it gets us in trouble. Free speech does. We don't have free will. We wish, but we don't have it, and it's already kind of like some of us get into trouble with it, the free will. So maybe we're not ready to be trusted with that. We can barely handle the free speech. So anyway, we wonder what divinity is. We wonder where our intuition comes from. I never have until I started seeing people talk about it in this way. I never, if I had like a idea just blast into my brain, I wasn't all, where did that come from? I was just all, act, wow, think, but not about where. But that's just me. Excuse me. We think about a higher power and our mind hesitates between yes, no, and maybe. Is it male or female? I was always told it was male. I didn't question it because it was just like everything in life was male dominated, which just goes to show the heavy hand of the human on that stuff, which makes what I've been laughing about. That's why I'm laughing, is because I think a lot of the way that it comes across is because of the heavy touch of the human hand, the scribe and their filter, their intentionality of how they were telling the story. Does it have a name? Is it just a feeling? Isn't that interesting? It is usually just a feeling. Like, that's usually just the most you get, and you got to work with that. But that's part of the deal. Like, that's what you get, and that's what you're meant to work with like religion. But it's a practical application too. Like, you don't have to be religious about it. That's how you just do stuff. That's how you just go along in life anyway. Anyway, the unicorn card appears and wakes us up to curiosity about the higher self and the divine. Okay. It is a card of questioning, exploring, and contemplating the inexplicable. Like a UFO. The mind's eye knows there's something beyond our day-to-day lives, a deeper dimension to our experiences. For instance, I love me a good sci-fi, especially if it's life on a spaceship. I don't know why I can turn on Star Trek or an alien movie, which is not at all relaxing or pleasant, really a trip on an enclosed thing that you can't really run the hell away from because there's an alien monster after you. Still, I can turn that etched on and my heart rate goes down. I become relaxed. I mean, if I could take that like I could, like a capsule, I would need, I don't think, any other chemical addition except for food. It's like crazy. It's TMI, sorry. The mind's eye knows there's something beyond our day-to-day lives, a deeper dimension to our experiences. I'm gonna interrupt myself. Like what I just said, why would that be? If you believe in reincarnations or past lives, maybe there's something that I remember about the past life that is so strong that I can turn on Star Trek and go into a relaxed state because it's a comfortable, I'm looking at something that's comforting, that makes, is that weird? But that's just an example. It could be anything for any other person. Like, obviously someone else is not going to have my same experience on any of the stuff that I've said. I'm just sharing my stuff. The mind's eye reaches and reaches out to out to grasp something more. You are the unicorn, and you have begun your quest for answers. Oh, sure, turn it back on me now. Look at the illustration. What does that even mean? Is that a tribble? That is the question. That's my question for that. Anyway, I've never noticed it on that level before. The unicorn and the sixth chakra. It's no surprise the subtle essence of the unicorn card resides at the third eye. The third eye of the needle. The third eye of the knee. Oh, sorry. I was going to do the final countdown. I should not. I know it didn't sound like it was going to do it, but trust me. Now I got lost. It is no surprise the subtle essence of the unicorn card resides at the third eye, the exact place from which the unicorn's horn extends. This center is called the Ajna chakra, or a command center. The ancient yogis believed it to be responsible for our intellect, intuition, and deepest wisdom. Some say our two eyes see the past and present, while this third eye peers into the future. So I guess we got all levels of sight covered. You just gotta, like, some of them you have to engage. You gotta turn that stuff on. Calm down there, unicorn. And I pulled a third card from the angel number deck. Took that away a little too fast. And it was the number 55, 55, 55, 50. 50. Oh, 50. Anyway, 55, 55. Clarity. Like I've said before, there's not really a whole heck of a lot for people to look at, but you can get a glance. So, great transformation. You gonna be the wealthy guy with all the baggage trying to get through there, or are you gonna, like, pare down your life? And when you do that, you will probably have to pare down your actual life, like not just your possessions. You have to, like, come to terms with not needing that anymore, and that's what will get you through the needle. I feel like that's the point. Like, the earthly stuff is, we've come here to have an experience. It's not like our whole, like, it's not our soul. It's not our actual self. Like, we're here, we're in the fleshy costume to act out the God stuff. So, yeah, you change yourself, get through the aperture. Major changes. What'd I just say? Opportunity. Well, they say that the hungry are the ones that, like, get the stuff, like in business and sports. And by hungry, just like hungry to achieve, you know? And so I would think when you shed a bunch of unwieldy things and make your life, I guess, less about you and the thing you're moved to achieve, well, I would think that's admirable. Fast pace forward. I mean, can you not move a lot faster if you're not dragging around a bunch of baggage, emotional or literal? And also not aerodynamic. You want to, again, pare down your wind resistance. That helps you go faster. process. To achieve any of that, you kind of have to follow a process. I mean, you can make out your schedule and regiment yourself and your time and all that, and that's great, but you're still moving along at a level that we are a lot of us mainly unaware of, and even if we're aware of it, we're unaware of it, and that is the fact that, we're doing what we're meant to do, we're supposed to do, like, we're doing our best, we're trying, like, whatever, but the platform upon which we're doing all of the doing is moving at its own pace, not regardless of us, actually. I think that the pace of this thing that I don't even have a name for, this platform, maybe it's the Akash, but maybe it does regulate its speed depending on what we do on our intentionality collectively. But I would think that, like, we could continue speeding through, like, a Stargate or an needle eye aperture, black hole, whatever, with the least wind resistance possible. So, shed the physical baggage, shed the emotional baggage that kind of holds us back. We know what that is. Like, our minds can slow us down, our mindset, So, yeah, like, process is going to happen regardless, but why not make it a more pleasant aerodynamic experience by, like, getting yourself a process. Okay, so here's the text. You aren't a victim of circumstance. Rather, you are the beneficiary of it. If that weren't the case, life would be pretty dull. You will set yourself up for success in the long run if you're willing to adapt to this shift. Everything is working out for the best. At long last, you are accomplishing what you set out to do. Everything will work out perfectly in the end. Well, that's, I feel like, where the clarity comes in after all of that talk. I mean, the things you do to achieve your goal, when you realize them and you can do it successfully and you start seeing that success, that tells me you've reached the clarity that this talks about at the top there. Full circle. Ow! The pain I go through for my art time. Okay, so I just had some other thoughts that I wrote down because of the stuff that I was watching. Like I said, it was UFO stuff. So, first thing is Joe Rogan. Okay, people say a lot of things about that guy, but I've been just looking at him and going, how much of the way that he does what he does is manufactured? Because, like, I am starting to watch him, and people will say that he's dumb, but I'm not so sure about that. People like the stuff that he talks about sometimes, like the UFO stuff. Like, he's kind of obsessed with it, I guess. I don't know. That's, again, other people talking about him doing it, and sometimes I'll watch an episode of his show, but I tend not to because it's fairly right-leaning, and that is not my cup of tea. But I've watched a lot of excerpts of him talking to, like, spiritual people or, like, oh God, I just watched them, and they're, like, total names you would know from, like, the Gaia channel or Ancient Aliens, like, those type of people. So I was like, I don't know if he's that dumb. And then also there's his Spotify contract. There's a lot of talk from, like, other YouTube channels that are not perhaps Spotify podcasters, but there's a lot of discussion about his contract where he seems to be getting an inordinate amount of money is what the issue seems to be. Like, I'm not sure how much money that podcast is actually pulling in to rate that pay, but I'm only aware of it because those other people are discussing it, because obviously they're not getting that kind of money for their stuff. But the ones talking to are usually also not sponsored by Spotify. They're like their own thing. So there's different levels of that, but there's some pretty smart people with shows, and a lot of them kind of laugh at Joe Rogan and laugh at his subject matter and his guests, but you know, broken clocks, they're right pretty often. And then he'll have some interesting guests, and I am interested in the UFO stuff. So I was like wondering, is he a concept insertion operator or operative? Because he will have people on and they'll talk about a wide range of things that are sort of beyond the scope of political ideology. Although I will say that I see that there's more tendency to go for the belief of the UFO subjects and stuff like that, ancient alien stuff, on the right. I don't like go in thinking that. I don't think anything. In fact, I'm always surprised to find out whose ideology goes one way or the other. But some people, it's obvious. Like when you hear them use words like woke or something like that, then you kind of know who, or if they say me too, like the right and the left say me too with different inflections, and the right says it where it sounds like they automatically, like they scoff and scorn. You can hear it in the tone, as if they can't believe that these rich, powerful guys just think they could just do whatever they want. Like Trump fully said it before he was elected, and they still don't believe it, but okay. And on the left, I don't know that I'm hearing them openly talk about it very much at all. And if they do, they're experiencers, and they'll just kind of say it, and then it just goes past like nothing. And then there's that working at cross purposes, the cross agency cock blocking, basically. So who gets told stuff? Like who gets told the real information and who holds back stuff? Well, if you read any of the history about that stuff, that is kind of self-evident. Like the Republican or the right-leaning people seem to hold it back from the people on the left, or they're all lying and everybody knows everything, which is frustrating. So, but I feel like there are people out there in the media, like the cute people talk about that all the time, or this Diddy thing that's been going on is talking about this one's a CIA, this one's an FBI operative, and all I can say for sure is that there's an investigation going on, and that there's a lot of talk that I'm gonna say is unsubstantiated for a courtroom. But judging from the behavior of the people telling the stories, there's some truth happening somewhere. Supposedly that's some kind of government op or trap, or I don't know. So Rogan putting out the information just like, hey, I'm just a meathead guy, comedian, blah blah blah, but here's all of this, like really kind of, why are you talking about this? But you know, he's not like a scientist himself. I just feel like he's an information disseminator, like Tyson, the black astrophysicist. I can't remember his name. The guy with the Star Talk show. I'm getting him confused with this other guy named Dyson. So my brain doesn't want to sort out the actual name. Sorry. Neil deGrasse. There you go. Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know, as smart as he's touted to be, and not just on astrophysics, obviously, he is mind, like everyone else, ranges to other subjects than their area of expertise or particular liking. But he'll say stuff, and it's like I don't think I've heard him solidly say that he believes in the existence of other intelligent life, which is insane. You're supposed to be smart, and you really think that we're the only ones around walking and talking as stupid as we are? Like, you think we're the height? You think we're the best that whatever? Like, I don't know if he believes in religion, if he's an atheist because he's a scientist. Some believe in both. Some can make room for both because it all came from one source. But yeah, so he'll say stuff, and he'll disclaim things, and I'll be like, really? You don't believe that? And it just won't make sense as him being a scientist for him not to even contemplate some of the things that he just dismisses out of hand, really. He may give it like a dismissive, like, oh, sure, maybe it exists, kind of that's the tone that I'm getting. I'm not quoting exact words, but I just feel like he's got to know better than some of the stuff he says, and I feel like he's out there purposely, for somebody's ends, disseminating that stuff. I don't see how you can be a scientist and just be all, it can't be, because that ain't how science works. Some new scientific discovery or innovation will come along, and it's because some new piece of information has made the old information wrong. So I don't know how you can sit there and say, nope, it isn't a thing. Like, you don't know that yet. Something more may come along to enhance your current, you know what I'm saying? So, and then like Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, and also Earth to the Sky Academy, or whatever it is. He's got some sort of UFO adjacent foundation. I'm not sure what they're supposed to do. And Academy suggests that they're some sort of school. Well, what are you schooling people about? Also, where is it? Why are there no ads? Why does no one talk about it? You're back on tour with one Blink-82. It's not a phone number, sorry. You're back on tour with the group, though. So, and I haven't heard about the Academy in years, and what's up with that? That's all I'm saying. Then there is, I was seeing some other stuff. I'm not sure which UFO thing I watched before starting to do this, because I saw like 4 in a row, which is funny because I don't know about your YouTube feed, but that's not how it usually works. Like, it wasn't auto playing. Anyway, I saw something about, I guess, the first documented UFO sighting, although I don't know how that could be the case. But it was a guy that was a pilot named Arnold, and he was in Washington State flying around Mount Rainier, whatever. Now don't go there. Anyway, he was flying by the mountain, and he saw UFOs. And he said that they looked like if they flew like if you basically skimmed a stone, but instead of saying stone, he said saucer for some reason. And this video claimed that the newspaper that reported it in Washington, for the sake of space, shortened the man's statement to flying saucers. So I guess what they were saying in this video was that people weren't really talking about it if they saw them, and that's why this one was like the first widely reported incident. Oh, but after that, a bunch of people started reporting it, and then like the authorities, I'm gonna call it, like the media talking to the government talking through the media was saying, oh yeah, now everybody's saying it like it's a fad or a trend. But when I heard that, what I thought was maybe people have been visited by the men in black and have been told and frightened into not saying anything. Maybe that's why people didn't say stuff. But one thing that I have learned is that, and there are a lot of movies and documentaries that source this information. So these people have the experiences, and then they're already freaked out by the experience. They've lost time. They feel like they've had things done to them surgically, that they've been abducted, and the aliens were mean. And it's, in some cases, there was communication, you know, and it's usually telepathic, but they're like very sort of dispassionate and cold while they're doing the procedures. And I think a couple of times I've even heard them quoted as saying things like, because of their complaining of pain or they're cold or they're just afraid, they're like, oh my God, shut up, basically. Because what also doesn't get talked about this stuff in particular is that this would be part of your life blueprint, and maybe you just don't remember. And maybe they're dispassionate and cold, one, because they're clone drones you know, like remotely operated basically, and also because they know that they're not actually hurting you in a way that you're not going to recover from, even though I guess they don't use anesthesia. I don't know about that. I don't know. But also that they know what you don't remember, that like basically you've already agreed to this happening. And I guess it comes across as like annoyed or something, or maybe they are annoyed. Like there's not like they don't. So apparently they also have emotions like we do, the ETs. So there's like all of these things that we're not allowed to know, and we already know that our government loves to not tell us stuff, and it's not just our government. I just think about all of these things, and I don't know. I just you're welcome. So I guess I'm done. Ow. Thank you and good night. Oh my God. Ouch. Okay, big girl.